Thinking right now in this chilly day that one of my favorite costumes was putting on a polar bear suit, a full polar bear suit that was like super fluffy, and zipping it up and just lying on the floor and sleeping when I was hungover on my shift on a Saturday. And then the door would, the bell would go when customers would come in, and then I'd get up and say, "How can I help you?" And they would freak out. I'd forget that I was in a suit.
Oh my God. Nothing comes to mind. I did go as the necklace from Titanic the other night for a Titanic themed party, and I made a meme out of myself, and it's on our Instagram. Follow us on Astrology Rose, which was just my way of making myself a meme. This whole podcast, this whole Instagram account is just reached its goal, which was to become a meme. So go there and like it and tag your best friend. I'm thinking about also the concept of ghosts and the concept of haunted houses for Halloween, which comes up again in movies and in books or whatever you guys have, whichever way you consume your mainstream culture. In Jerusalem, I used to live across the road from a building that was known as a cursed building. So the story behind it is very interesting. What happened? There was a synagogue. So a synagogue, a shul, whatever you call it, it's basically a Jewish church. And it was, obviously Jerusalem is a very spiritual city, and this was one of the oldest shuls, the oldest synagogues in the city. And then this guy came and wanted to build a huge building next to it. So everyone told him, you have to go speak to the rabbi, because if you build a skyscraper here, it will block the sun from the synagogue. And they need to know the sunrise and the sunset, and maybe the internet wasn't there yet to tell them that, but they really needed to have that sunlight. And this guy went to the rabbi and asked him if he can build the building. And the rabbi said, you can build the building, but it couldn't be more than 4 stories, 4 flights. So the guy said, okay, no problem. And then he went and built a skyscraper. Okay, maybe not a skyscraper, but 12-story building.
Sounds like bad juju.
Yeah, not work.
Okay, so this rabbi wasn't just any old rabbi. It wasn't a Pisces rabbi or a kind...
Shamir.
It wasn't Shamir. It wasn't the guy that's going to marry Romy. This rabbi was a vengeful fucking rabbi, because on the day that they built this building, he came and he cursed it.
What if he curses this podcast now that he's heard you refer to him as a vengeful fucking rabbi?
We'll have a ceremony after if we need to.
I ain't afraid of no rabbis. So what happened? So I was living across the road from this building, and I can tell you that this building, ever since it was built, every store that was opened at the bottom of the building, there was like a stores area, shopping area. Every store that was opened was closed in under a year. And right now, it's just a strip of shops, and they're all empty with rental signs, like for rent. And even the building itself, there's not a lot of tenants. And my brother, when he got married, he wanted to move in there, and he wrote to us on the WhatsApp group, on the family WhatsApp group, as a joke, oh my God, I'm moving into the haunted the cursed building, because he didn't care, but he was going to move there. And my mom straight away sent 100 voice recordings to the WhatsApp group, threatening his life, saying, this is over my dead body, you will live in that building. It created a real broigas, a real beef. My mom and my brother were like fully fighting. He was like, I don't believe in this shit. My mom was like, I don't care. You're not risking it. Like, I'm going to stop you from entering this building.
And she pulled out the big guns, if I remember correctly. She referred to kivud horim,
yes.
Which, Ishai, you might want to explain what that means and why that's the equivalent of taking a knife to someone.
So one of the biggest thing, one of the 10 commandments, actually, one of the 10 commandments in the Torah, in the Bible, is respecting your parents. And my mom pulled that card. She was like, you're basically breaking the 10 commandments if you move into this building. Wow. And he didn't. Obviously, there's nothing like good guilt, good mother guilt.
I do think, though, that there is a lesson in that, which is, not just about overbearing mothers. I really think I know magic is real. And we can be superstitious, but I think, and we can be funny about that. But sometimes you just know, you know that feeling when you walk into a building, or it might be on a path, and there's this cold, empty kind of hollowness there. And it just feels a little bit wrong. You just feel a little bit unsafe and you can't put your finger on it. And I think that that's actually, something in the spiritual realm that is telling you, trust your intuition in those moments. Like, don't set up a home there.
And Romy, I'm just curious, do you have any advice out there for people who, they might feel like they can sense ghosts around them, or they're very spiritual and they don't know how to harness it, or maybe there are people out there who don't feel particularly spiritual connected but are curious in exploring that for themselves?
Yeah. Look, I think, so many things, I think. I think that trust yourself, definitely trust your instincts. And by way of a story, this is something which is really reflective of how I went about it, a hero's quest, if you will. I experienced growing up in a haunted house. So not a cursed house per se, but there was definitely a spirit there. And this spirit was a man, and I had very vivid dreams of the same man, coming into my bedroom at night. This does sound serious. It wasn't, I checked, it absolutely was not a real person. So just putting that out there, I think that's important. But, I had these recurring dreams of this man from probably in a really nice old-fashioned black suit with a beautiful sort of cravat, so maybe 18th century, coming in, and he would just stroke my cheek and his hand would be really cold. And obviously I just couldn't deal with that. I was totally freaked out. So as I got older and I got more comfortable in my skin, I went on the quest of, let's go ghost hunting. Let's find out who this is. And, I guess starting from first principles, was it real or was it a ghost? Yep, it's a ghost. And through that journey of just opening up to different people, I met so many amazing guides along the way. So, of course, I went to a psychologist. That can be a really helpful framework. And we talked about what that means. Like, is it my relationship with the inner male in me? And then I talked to my departed relative, Tomas, who's a shaman from Barcelona. And, he sort of thought, maybe it's a spirit. This is what you can do. I met another witch along the way. And over time, through this experience, I built up some tools in the toolkit. So some advice is, I slept with a symbol of a weapon under my pillow to make me feel safer. And then in the dreams, I would use that to say, no, please leave me alone. I'm not who you think I am. And this went on for years. I used to search old newspapers for stories to try and actually find out his identity. But I never really did. And it wasn't until this was my family home, and, that holds a lot of memories for lots of people, their family home where they grew up. It wasn't until my mother sold our home and I had the opportunity to really think, how am I going to say goodbye to this spirit? Because in a way, I've known him in my nighttime as I've known a lot of people in my daytime. So I wrote to all of my guides, and I contacted all of them and I said, what should I do? And they all pretty much said the same thing. They said, light a candle, have a vigil for him, ask him to come, and to say that you're saying farewell and that you wish for him to cross over to be free, so that he's not living this pattern with the next person or family that comes into this home. And the last night, the house was covered in boxes. I kept a candle out and I lit the candle and I did exactly that. And that was 7 years ago, and I've never seen him again.
That's huge.
And I think it's really...
That's huge.
It's also very helpful because people are so scared because of the narrative of the ghost and the monster and the demons. People are so scared of them and they're so terrified, but actually it is just another being that is there. And, you might as well be scared of anyone that you meet. But, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think we shouldn't privilege, spiritual communication over real, grounded communication that we're doing right now when we have lots of coffees and enjoy a brunch in Melbourne. But, because it's not that it's more special. It's just another radio frequency that you can tune into. And I'm still on the journey, of learning how to turn it on and how to switch it off. But those simple things like, sleep with some crystals that symbolize protection, sleep with whatever it is that resonates with you, or say your name. Name's really powerful in the spiritual realm. if you find yourself traveling somewhere you don't want to be traveling, or spirit's contacting you, you know, say this, I'm Itai, and are you here for my greater good or not? And, you know, take a bit of agency. So yeah, there's lots of things you can do.
Oh, that's such an Aries approach to spiritual guidance. Yeah. Just tell them not now. Not now.
Just block them on Facebook. Find the ghost, block it. Romy, we want to thank you. This has been such a pleasure and such an enriching conversation. I feel like I'm taking so much from it for my future endeavors in the spiritual and physical realms. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. And for those who still just want a slutty Halloween, you can do that as well. You don't have to go full shaman. But Romy, thank you for informing us all about how we can be more spiritual, how we can connect. And it's just such a privilege to have you here.
Such a privilege to be here. And I am all about the slutty Halloween costumes, and I cannot wait to dress up as Katniss Everdeen from the Hunger Games and have my own bow and arrow.
Oh, I also want to finish this episode with a huge disclaimer. And
fourth disclaimer for this episode.
But we are definitely we don't think that being a slut is negative. We support
100%.
The Amber Rose Slut Walk. I was liking all the photos and I was sharing all the stories from that slut walk.
Yeah.
And we really support everyone in their choice of whatever they want to wear.
Yeah.
Whatever gender they want to fuck on that night. We don't care. Just do whatever you want.
And my 9th disclaimer for the episode, I'm just wearing glasses. That's it. I'm fully naked. So this is, you know, a very slut positive and sex positive podcast.
And one day we will have an episode which is just a row of disclaimers. Just disclaimer after disclaimer after disclaimer.
So stay safe, stay spiritual, and thanks for joining us again for Astrology Roast.